Hello, this is Chris Bertelson with a quick clip from Nevada Learning Series. Here we'll look at some amazing enhancements to the taskbar and start menu in Windows 7. Well, when we look at Windows 7, a lot has changed from previous versions of Windows, and I have to say that the experience I've had and that I've listened to people talk about is they find it to be faster overall. It is easier to do everyday things, simpler to do more complex tasks, and it's just beautiful to look at and a delight to use. Here I'd like to talk a little bit about the taskbar and some new things that have been added there. If you look down at the bottom, you see the taskbar. It's a little bit bigger than it was in the past, but it does a whole lot more. You have little icons for programs that are running, and if you hover over those, you can see a thumbnail of that particular program. Now, if you can't quite see or read what's in that thumbnail, just move the mouse over the thumbnail, and then you get a preview of how that screen would look if you opened up that window on the desktop. So it's a very natural, easy way to navigate back and forth. If you've got video running, you can even see the little video playing in there. If you have multiple windows, you can navigate to those, and if you hover over these, there's even a little close button where I could go up there, click, and close out of that window. So a very natural way to navigate back and forth with these thumbnails. Now, if you have a lot of things on your desktop and it tends to be kind of cluttered and you just want to focus on one particular thing, you can grab the title bar of that, like the calculator here, grab it with the mouse, and then shake it back and forth. And that's called the shake feature, and what that does is basically clear the rest of the desktop and only leave the application that you were working on. Wouldn't it be nice if it worked that way in your physical office, where you could just shake a piece of paper over your desk and everything would get clean again? Well, sometimes we have a lot of things on our desktop. Sometimes we have files or little gadgets there that we'd like to look at, and there's a way to do that quick and easy by going to the lower right-hand corner, hovering over this space, and that's called Peek, and that allows you to see the desktop at a glance and maybe see a file or a gadget that you might have down there. If you click on that little space in the lower right hand corner, that Peek will minimize everything and show you the desktop. So a kind of a nice easy way to see what's going on there. Now, if I want to flip from one program to the next, my left hand is just hardwired to do an Alt-Tab. And this has been a long-standing feature in Windows. Alt-Tab will pull up a list of all running programs, and then as you hold down the Alt key and keep tapping on Tab, you'll flip through those. If you pause for a half a second, it will pull that up and give you a preview of that particular window. And if you hold down the Shift key, while still holding down Alt, you can hit Tab and you can flip through all of those windows in reverse. Now, a lot of times I have about 20 of these windows up on my system, and rather than flip through all the channels, I will grab the mouse and bring the mouse up here. Now I'm still holding down the Alt key, and as I hover over these individual windows, it will give me a preview, and then if I click, it'll take me right to that particular program. So that's one way to be able to flip between windows. Now with Windows 7, the fun way to do it is to hold down the Windows key. Now this is that key on your keyboard you've probably never used. It looks like the little Windows logo. So dust that off, push that down, and touch the Tab key. And then you get what's called 3D flip. Now I'm holding down the Windows key, and as I keep tapping on Tab, you can see that I'm going to flip one by one through up to 10 different windows. If you hold down the Shift key and push Tab, you can also flip in reverse through that. So that's kind of a fun feature to be able to show that to people. So a lot of nice, simple little improvements. If you like the calculator, here's a kind of a fun one. If you go into View, you can go into Scientific, and there's a scientific side of the calculator. There's also some nice options for doing unit date conversions. So the calculator even gets better in this version of Windows. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to open up a window here with some documents and a window there with some documents, and I'd like to copy some files from one to the other. Now you've probably done this in the past where you try and arrange one over here on the left and one over here on the right, and it takes a bit of time and fuss to get them just so side by side. Well, now in Windows 7 you simply drag to the edge, and when the mouse cursor gets to the edge of the screen, it snaps to fit and fill exactly half the screen on the right or on the left. That feature is called Snap, and it just snaps to an exact size. It's very nice for copying files from one window to another, such as I have here. Or if you have a wide screen, it's terrific because you can arrange a spreadsheet or a document side by side to look them over and compare those. And then if you click and drag away from the edge, it snaps back to its previous size. This also works in an application. If I take this right here and drag it up to the top, when it gets to the top, it snaps and it fills the whole screen. Maybe I have a wide screen and I want to go up and down, but I don't want to go wide. I just grab the bottom of that window and drag that down, and when I get to the edge, it snaps, and it just snaps up and down. So there's all sorts of things you can do with arranging your windows. And it seems like a simple thing, but I have to say this is kind of like power windows. Once you use these a little bit, you really get used to it. And if you go back to a system that doesn't snap to fit, you really miss it and wonder where it went. If we turn to the Start menu, we can click on the Start button or push the Windows key, and you'll notice in the Start menu at the top we have these little triangles next to our programs, and those are called jump lists. And what they do is they show you the most recently used files for those different applications. Basically, I can come over here and click on Excel Basic and jump right to that file without having to open Excel and then take another step to open the file. It works in Word, it works in Excel, really it works in any program that keeps track of a recently used list. And if you have files that you use all the time, you can push this little push pin in, and then they'll always remain up here at the top. And you can unpin those, and if you want to remove something from the list, just right click on it, and you can say remove this from the list, so you can kind of clear that recently used list. I can also see recent pages that I've surfed to here in Internet Explorer, programs I've watched in the Media Center, pictures I've edited. All sorts of different options can be had. Now if you look down at the bottom, I have Excel down there on the taskbar, and I can single click on that and launch that program. To add that, I simply come up here to the Start menu and I can right click and say pin this to the taskbar, or I'm a kind of a physical guy, I like to just select it up there, drag and drop that icon down to the taskbar, and that will also pin it to the taskbar. Now I'm a single click away from launching Word. If I right click on that icon, I can see a list of the jump list there of the recently used and pinned documents. And there's a new action in Windows 7 called Mouse Up. If I click on the left mouse button while I'm dragging it up over an icon, I'll also get a jump list right there. So I can very quickly go into those. Now if I want to launch Word, that is the fifth icon over, not counting the Start menu there. So if I do a Windows button and 5, that will launch me directly into Word. So if you like keyboard shortcuts, they've got those built in as well. And if you don't like the order of things down there, just click and drag, and you can rearrange those icons down there in the taskbar. So that's been a quick look at the taskbar in Windows 7. It's a little bit bigger, but it does a whole lot more. And it's something that you touch with every part of your use of Windows 7. This has been a quick clip from Nevada Learning Series, helping you get the most out of Microsoft Windows.